Hello everyone. Welcome to my social studies class. Today I am going to discuss chapter 21 United Nations. In this chapter you will learn about formation of the United Nations, objectives of the United Nations, principles of the United Nations and organs of the United Nations. Today I am going to discuss about formation of the United Nations and objectives of the United Nations. But before starting the chapter, I am going to discuss few terms. First is the United Nations, world body formed to maintain peace and security in the world after Second World War. Next term, organization, a group in which people work at different levels. Third, World War, war between two or more nations. Fourth term is League of Nations, world body formed to maintain peace and security in the world after First World War. Next term is human rights, basic rights of everyone to be treated fairly. And last term is charter, an official document which describes rules and regulations. I am going to discuss few difficult words that you will come across the chapter today. And first is existence, found, realize, to understand, ensure, definitely. Objectives, aims, preserve, to save, environment, our surroundings. Open your social studies book on page number 143, chapter The United Nations. You all will mark important terms and meanings side by side. Write down first term, the United Nations, world body formed to maintain peace and security in the world after Second World War. The United Nations UN is world organization formed in 1945. Down term of organization, a group in which people work at different levels. And United Nations is popularly known as UN, which was formed in year 1945. It came into existence after World War II. The loss of men, money and the human sufferings all over the world made the leaders of the world realize that no problem can be solved by wars and that it should be avoided at any cost. Write down meaning of existence, found, realize, to understand. In simple words, the United Nations was formed after Second World War, as leaders were worried if another war broke out, it would ruin the world. So they made up their minds to form world organization to solve human sufferings all over the world and to stop wars at any cost. At the end of World War I, 1914 till 1918, the League of Nations was formed, but it failed. Write down term of League of Nations, world body formed to maintain peace and security in the world after First World War, and second term, World War, war between two or more nations. The First World War broke out in the year 1914 and ended in the year 1918. After the World War I, the League of Nations was formed in 1920, and idea of forming League of Nations was given by Woodrow Wilson, US President. But League of Nations failed in its objective. At the end of Second World War, 1939 till 1945, the leaders of the world like American President Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Churchill agreed that it was necessary to create a world organization which would help ensure peace. It was Franklin D. Roosevelt who named the organization the United Nations. Mark meaning of ensure, that is definite. Mark American President Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Churchill. I am going to explain these two lines with help of pictures. People of 20th century had seen two world wars. World War II broke out in the year 1939 and ended in the year 1945. It was most expensive war ever fought in history of mankind, as for first time atom bombs were used. Former Prime Minister of Great Britain Winston Churchill and the former President of United States of America Franklin D. Roosevelt suggested the formation of the World Organization to ensure peace and security in the world. The UN Charter was signed by 50 member countries on 24th October 1945 in San Francisco, USA. Mark this line and write down term of charter, an official document which describes rules and regulations, which means 74 years ago 50 member countries signed Charter of the UN. India was one of those original members. The original membership of 50 nations has now grown to 193 members. Mark this line, which means India was one of those founding members of the United Nations. 51 countries became member of the United Nations in 1945 as Poland did not have its own government, and now membership has raised to 193. At present, the United Nations has 193 members, which makes it largest organization of world in terms of membership. Now, let us read objectives of the UN. Write down meaning of objectives, aims. First is to promote peace in the world, which means all member nations would settle disputes in such a way that would not endanger world's peace and security. Second, to help develop friendly relationship among nations. Write down meaning of nations, countries, which means countries must cooperate and develop friendly relations. Third, to solve economic and social problems by achieving the cooperation of the nations, which means to facilitate the growth and progress of nations by cooperation. It can be related to money or society. Fourth, to encourage respect for human rights and freedom of all people among the member nations. Write down term of human rights, basic rights of everyone to be treated fairly. And it means to ensure respect for fundamental rights and freedom of people without discrimination of caste, language or religion. Fifth, to fight diseases and preserve the environment. Write down meaning of preserve, to save, and environment are surroundings, which means to fight against diseases and save our environment. The main aim of the United Nations is to protect coming generations from world war, because only peaceful world can attain progress. Now, you all have to read page number 143 and write down terms on your copy. Thank you.